And just like that, the 2023 season is over. Wow! Holy smokes, it's the end of 2023, which I didn't think not that I didn't think it was going to happen. I just didn't think it was going to happen like as fast. I don't want this to be a super boring video. There's actually some really interesting stuff in here. And I think if you have any interest in anything remotely to do with kind of what we've been doing, this video is going to be a good one. There's some things that I really want to share with you, but they're not happening now for like another couple of weeks. But by the time you've watched this, one of them will have happened, and then the other one might have happened, but it also might not have happened yet, which is as cryptic as I can possibly be. If you watched the goal recap video, which went out last week, I want to say right at the very start, then you will already be a little bit up to date on some stuff that's happened. We're not going in chronological order, because if we did that, you guys would have brains as mushy as a mushy pile of peas. And so would I. So we're not going chronological because it's bouncing around all over the place. I'm going to clump things together in convenient little sections, and I will forget something. So forgive me in advance if that's okay. When I first sat and did a review video, like a wrap up of a year, that was back in 2020, and that year was crazy. That year, like, life changed. It's actually been a while now since then. It's been a while since the start of the channel. I've changed, Dan's changed, our lives have changed, our, growth as human beings has changed. We've aged, we've going grey. Not 100% grey, in all fairness, but they're coming through quite quickly now because I'm getting older than I was. Now, I have a little bit of a wrap-up review on this screen so that I can try not to forget stuff. But if we start somewhere, I think we should start with what happened in YouTube world of my brain this year, because actually a lot happened that was not great. And I think I ought to maybe address that. I alluded in our 3-year birthday video in March time that I was finding some things a little bit difficult. You guys all know the crapola comments that we get daily, which I'm pretty good now at dealing with. We laugh at them a lot. Sometimes we jibe back. It's funny. Sometimes we just delete and block. Depends how offensive they are for both me and other people. But what I didn't mention, I did mention it in the birthday video, was that my brain had rewired itself to negatively associate certain behaviors with an entire group of people's, and that's not me. So I knew I needed a break. That was also because my favorite video that I've made in like a really long time just completely bombed on the channel, and I was like, do you know what? There's more to life than this, and it always hurts when something that you think is going to be really helpful either doesn't land well or just isn't what other people want to see. So that sucked, and I realized I'm placing way too much importance on this platform, really, in terms of my enjoyment for doing my actual job. So I knew I needed to take a break. It was perfectly timed with a large amount of international travel, which we'll cover in a sec because there's some funny clips and stuff I'd like to share. But the main bulk of it essentially was when I started traveling, we'd stop YouTube and we'd just go on a pause, go on a holiday, let my brain rewire itself, and then we would come back when I felt ready. And I felt fairly ready when a couple of the tip videos came out, like how to do this one, and also a waterfall video. But I realized after they'd gone out, that's just not my vibe of thing. It's not me. And I didn't feel like I was 100% behind them. Not in terms of the content, that's still true and correct, but it just didn't feel authentic. And so I was like, no, let's stop. And then if I get the vibe back, we'll get the vibe back. And of course, with all the bits and pieces that have happened this year, in terms of the technology, I needed to come back to help with some tips and ideas about certain things and also to clear some stuff up. And so when I did come back in October, hopefully you'll have seen that it was like OG Jess is back. Like, she's here, she's in the room. And so yay, we're back. But it's been a tumultuous year in terms of YouTube, but there's just absolutely no way in hell that we would have been able to do the content that was needed to do YouTube whilst we had everything else in the schedule. It was just not going to happen. So it had to stop, but it was good it did because I feel so much better. And so, yay, win for the end of the year. if we're being honest. Now, throughout that entire period of time, i.e. from kind of like March through October, a huge amount has been happening in the background. Some things that you won't know, some things that are, family based, some things that are very, very personal, some things that are business related, but we can't talk about because they're not closed deals yet. And just lots of different things happening. So you guys only saw like the top little inkling of the mountain that was happening at the same time, which is sometimes tricky because that, for me personally anyway, I feel like that's a little bit inauthentic, but it's a different world when you like put everything about your life out on the internet. That's a very different situation. And I am a really private person, contrary to how it appears. And so we did travel. This year was my 1 year of travel. Technically it's leaking over a little bit, but my 1 year of international travel, I said, look, okay, fine. I will go ahead and fly all over the world to do workshops and teaching in different countries. And it was down to the hosts to make this happen. So the hosts organized everything. They managed all of the students. And then it was just a case of me kind of like, popping in, hello, and then popping out again. There was a huge amount of work from each of these hosts, and we started the year, technically I started the year of travel in April, heading over to go and teach again for the Pet Photographers Club in Tuscany this time, whereas last year it was Lake Como, and always a great time there. I was a little bit nervous because we were sharing an accommodation this time, and I'm a solitary creature. Really. So I found I was really nervous about that, and knowing I would be sharing with a group of women who I didn't know, which is really scary for me in general as just a concept in itself. So that was really scary, but genuinely, I thank the Lord that Kirsty organised that and made us go together, because the instructors on that retreat just gelled like a house on fire. We all just got on really, really well. So well, in fact, that we plan to meet up again later in the year at Anna's home country, in her kind of home region, to go and spend some time together in Austria. So we did do that, and that was fantastic. So we did our summer camp together, and honestly, they are some of the kindest, nicest, most genuine, honest people that you'll ever meet in your entire life. They are just really great human beings, and I'm so grateful to have been given the opportunity to meet them. So amazing instructors, fantastic time, and also really cute dogs, which is always good. So that was in April. Technically, I did do some speaking engagements and some workshops also on UK soil, which were also similarly fantastic. And one of them came fitted with a fantastic game of beer pong, which was always good. And then I personally went solo to go to Austria to go and spend some time with these guys that I've just mentioned. And then coming back from that, we jumped straight into our international workshop schedule, which started in America. So America was hosted by the amazing Gina, who's fantastic. Just, again, another just super kind soul, fantastic person. Gina hosted us over in her home state of Maine in the US, and we went over there and taught a workshop, which was really fun, but also because it was kind of like the first one, there was a lot of very quick learning had to happen. And I always like to do sort of like a little personal reflection and a review about how, what went well, what could have gone better. A fantastic group of people. There is a rap. I feel like I need to find that for you.
Jessica McGovern's coming to Maine. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be cool, but it wouldn't have happened without Gina Sewell.
So, little clips of that there. The best part of that workshop for me was not the amazing locations. It was not the amazing models. It was not the amazing weather. It wasn't any of that, or even the people.
We just saw celebrities on the road. Can you believe that? They're coming out. Look.
It was kind of the people though, because we ended up having on one of the final days a cookout, so like a barbecue in like a parking lot, essentially, in the middle of the countryside on the back of a pickup truck. And it was just amazing. It was just such a really wonderful time. Amazing to connect with different people. Genuinely just fantastic. So Maine was really good. It will always be seared into my brain as a fantastic memory that we can have. And then we flew back and were not in the country for that long before we went again. And that time it was to Sweden. So we went via Denmark to Sweden. And in Sweden, again, we taught another workshop with, again, a fantastic host, Ida, who's absolutely hilarious. See, the Swedes were interesting because I ate a lot of fika and I realized that there's just too much food going on when fika is happening. So I ended up actually not eating some of the meals because there's just so much food happening. The Swedes are an interesting group of peoples because they are so polite, so kind, so sweet, and they really are, but they have like a little devious dark side that's hilarious. It just pops out when you least expect it. Sweden was amazing, beautiful, such amazing models. Ida did a really great job of making sure everything stayed super organized, and the venue was fantastic. And yes, Dana's still playing the Swedish restaurant playlist on Spotify all of the time. So we did Sweden and we came back. I think I taught in Scotland that week, which was quite a busy week. And then we went straight away again. This time we were headed to Milan to go and teach a studio / off-camera flash specific workshop, which was actually really coincidentally timed because we already knew that Studio Bootcamp, the course, was going out later on. So I was like, I'm going to just test the lessons essentially here, but in like a much faster, none of my equipment's here. Let's make this space work, whatever we get, who's the model, we'll try and figure it out. And it actually worked really well. Really great group. For me, Milan was fantastic. Again, a wonderful host in Alessia, and I'd already met her anyway at Lake Como's retreat the year before. That was really good to spend some time with her again because genuinely she's just a legend. But the thing that is disappointing for me about Italy, if I have to go, I'm going to give it like 1 star out of 5, purely because there is not enough tea. And if you ask for milk for your tea, they look at you like you're crazy. And also, they very judgy over me having vodka with a meal, though you have to have an alcoholic beverage with a meal in it. But I don't drink wine. Like, wine's not a thing for me. So, and those 2 things just bring it down. But loads of pasta and pizza, so I think we could even out around like 3 stars. As far as the actual workshop went, the people, the place, the venues, amazing, 5 out of 5. So then we got back and there was actually less than a week. And this was a painful less than a week turnaround to get back from Milan. And then we sort of flew in, washed our clothes, and then flew out again to head over to Quebec in Canada to go and spend some time with Anne-Laurie and the group of amazing students who had come from both Canada and from the US, and also, Alyssa from Paris too, to go to that workshop. Now, this was just the most breathtaking scenery you could ever imagine. We'd hit it right at the perfect time where the trees were all turning, the colours were just divine, and Canada was just as amazing as I always remembered it to be. It was Dan's first time in Canada. He was sold, like flat sold. 100%, absolutely loved it. And the dog models there inspired a lot of what we were doing because they were just so exceptional. Really, really, truly fantastic. And also great to have so many similarities with Anne-Laurie, including our personality and sarcasm, which I feel it works quite well. Aside from all of that, there was also my photographic things that were going on. So I agreed to step up and help the BIP as a director as part of a transformation strategy that they were wanting to do. So I stepped up and it was agreed right at the very start it would definitely not stay past the annual awards event in November. So I had like a short, like it was a fixed term thing to make sure that essentially there's a lot going on right now, okay? And I knew that we would be needing some time, and I knew this would take up a lot of time. It took a huge amount of time, but I was really proud to have at least some small part in the work that's being done to make sure that the BIP lives on for another 124 years or 121 years or however old it is now. It's super old, since 1901, and I can't do the math. So no, give up. So I was a director on the board of the BIP. Loads of stuff was going on at that point because the EGM had been moved forwards from November through September. So there was a lot happening in the background there. And then, of course, I also had my own personal goals to achieve another fellowship. So that happened with the societies in March, and then again with the BIP in October, November time at their qualification session. So 2 fellowships down, yay. But also, because we've mentioned the societies, of course, it was convention time in March. And if you remember from back then when we did the convention roundup, there was also the first title of the year, which was, for me, it was Pet Photographer of the Year for the 20x16 print competition with the wonderful image of Peggy in central London, shot at the convention the year before. And then there was also 3rd place in the overall Photographer of the Year final, which I never expected. We were also listed in the top trainers as well, which was really amazing. Just such a fantastic event, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of you guys there again, but this time in January, so just a couple of weeks to go for that, which will be really fun. Now, speaking of titles, that wasn't the only title. The second title of the year for me was in the ND Awards, where I won a overall category title, which meant I was in the money. And it's the first time I've ever won money for photography. So that was like, oh, wow, this is a thing. So ended up with category win for some of the images from those 2 fellowship panels. So beautiful that could retire in such a spectacular fashion. The title that I got is interesting because I think it's totally appropriate and it suits that I am the ND's special photographer of the year. My mum thinks I'm special, so that's good. Technically, I judged a few bits as well this year. I'm hoping to do more of the judging stuff in the future. So I've done a few years of judging stuff now. This time I was invited to judge a couple of different things. Or the main one, of course, would have been the Pet Photographer of the Year competition, which is now hosted by Unleashed with Charlotte and Craig, who are also fantastic. Definitely one well worth looking into for entering for next year. And that was slap bang in the middle of all this travel. So it was just like, how much can you fit into all of the spare hours in a day? I feel like we hit our limit on that one. We know where the limit is. And so we spin back around to us personally with me and Dan. Me and Dan celebrated our 3rd wedding anniversary this December. So that's exciting. There was a wedding video that does exist on the channel. So you guys have watched our relationship through that time. And you're starting to see a little bit more of Dan and now and again. Besides that, I guess we can't not mention a couple of the more worrying times. We had a really big scare with Tuna. I won't go into it in a massive amount of detail, but yeah, I mean, it's not been straightforward. She had surgery right at the point where MTOG 2.0 and the Vault launched, right at the start of June. She had literally just come out of surgery. So we were doing multiple times a day cleaning sessions with the wound site, and it was not great. And then there was another kind of scare and an issue that we had to deal with. And then since then, yeah, it's not been plain sailing on that. It's a lot to have all of the stuff that we were doing for work and then have scary health related issues to be thrown on the top. And that was compounded with Alfie. So I have not talked about this publicly. Alfie, a lot of you know Alfie has quite severe allergies and stuff as well, which we manage as best as we can. We're on his last option for food, realistically now. But so he has the chance of having essentially something short in his lifespan, and he's already 9. So we had an unrelated scare to that thing this year, which was we found a lump, and it's every owner's worst nightmare, right? We found a lump, and I was just absolutely losing my mind about what this could do. Like, I'm going to lose my best friend. And thankfully, it was not malignant. So it wasn't aggressive. It wasn't cancer. We're good. Like, he's okay. But, when it just starts to make you think about what's going to happen when it wasn't great. It really was not a good time for me. And then coming towards the end of the year now, October, November time, Finn started with some little, well, I mean, Finn's always been a little bit, sandwich short of a picnic. He probably ate the sandwich, that kind of thing. But he has just started to show some signs of like doggy dementia as well. And he's happy in himself, but sometimes you'll just hear him crying and it freaking breaks your heart. You'll just hear him crying and you'll go down and you'll be like, Finn, are you okay? And he's just like so spaced. He's just like not even in the room. And I just sort of like touch him like, and he's like, oh, hey, Mom. Totally fine. So it's just a really, there's been that going on. And then in the background, some family members haven't had the greatest year health-wise either. So anyway, that's not what we want to put in a wrap-up video. So we will continue onwards. What's next on my list that wasn't any of that? Firstly, if we have to take learnings from 2023, the first thing that I've learned is you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, which I feel like we all knew at this point anyway. But statistically, did you know that 5% of people will just hate everything you do because they hate everything? And that's such a sad place for that person to be. And I feel really sorry for them to have that kind of an outlook, that kind of a negativity all of the time. So I'm okay with that now. Doesn't bother me anymore. Another thing that my break taught me was that I need to stop placing so much of an importance on what people on the internet are going to think of the things that I do or say. And so I am. And speaking in the words of our great student friend and MTOG, Shirley Cove, all we need to do is just have to really. Which is a little bit extreme, and I probably take a slightly more tactful approach to that. But just kind of like just do what you need to do, the amount I'm saying means that I'm really thinking all of this over in my brain as we go along. So I do apologize because I'm not usually this full, but is a thing. The next thing that I learned was essentially that I can do it. Even if it's like climbing a mini mountain, it was more of a hill, but it was a hike in Austria with Anna and the instructors. I can do that. And honestly, a year ago, my legs could not do that. Like physically, I just would not have been able to do that. So I can do that. What else can I do? I can go around the world at times by myself and feel okay doing that. So that's good. I can share a house with other people, which I didn't think I'd ever be able to do particularly well. I can manage myself, which is a great way to end the year. So, interesting times. And it's not been all plain sailing and stuff, but I'd say I'm doing all right. We just need to get over the line with these last few bits I can't talk to you about and I really want to talk to you about. And then I'll feel like I've done a good year. But at the moment, I feel like I've done an okay year, mainly because of what you guys had this year. Not necessarily you guys on YouTube, but like you guys as in the community in whatever space that exists in. So you had Self-Critique for Success, the online course, MTOG 2.0, moving to the Vault, which is revelation in itself. And then you also have had Studio Bootcamp, which has been so hard, but really great. It just finished today, the day I'm recording this, not the day you're watching this. It just finished, and the first of like the reviews are coming in, and I'm just so proud of everybody. I'm just super proud of everybody. I really am. There is a wait list open for the solely recorded version of Studio Bootcamp, so not the direct interactivity. That is open, or I will put a link wherever the links are going for that. The students have just been amazing, and it's so amazing to also have their point of view kind of coming through all of the time, which helped to shape the entirety of the resources and the content. The live studio shoots were epic. The editing sessions that we did were great. It was just good vibes, and it was nice to use the studio in the way that we did at this point in the year, although we haven't put any holiday decorations up, which feels a bit wrong. But anyway, what's next on my list? Oh, I forgot to mention that the main thing that I learned about this year is that I now know my audience. Not that I didn't know that you were all amazing, but I just know that you are just amazing. And so that makes it way easier to deal with the other stuff, like the other noise, because I'm like, cool, not my person in that respect. And that's also okay. Some of you might also know or not know or want to know, or maybe not, that I retired this year. Not really. I resigned. Not from this. I resigned from my other business, which has given me more freedom to be me instead of super corporate, super cynical, super professional Jess. And now I'm just slightly more chaotic, creative, confident Jess. I don't know. I was super confident doing what I was doing before. Maybe not, that's not the right word, but being able to step back from that is great because it means that I don't need to do 16-hour days anymore. And that's made a big difference. So me stepping back from doing the work that I was doing, I still do maybe an hour a month, maybe 2. When it's needed, when we need to do high-level technical stuff or strategic things or whatever, things like that, then yes, I'll step back in. But for the most part, I am out. And did I go to Italy whilst I was working my notice so I didn't have to do it? Maybe yeah, maybe that was me. But yeah, so now Dan runs that. That's his thing. It's nothing to do with me anymore. And it is heaven. It is heaven. It is just wonderful. So, what a year. It's been a crazy one. I'm older next year. I hit a milestone birthday next year. And that will be just around about the point that we are. No, definitely will. We will be 4 years old as a YouTube channel by then when it's my birthday, and a lot is changing because I want to live my life now. I've worked just insane amounts of hours and I haven't done a great deal for me in that amount of time. I've spent a lot of time making other people's businesses great so they can do what they want, and I haven't done a lot of that myself. I have in certain times because without that I just wouldn't even exist anymore. So I want to do more things that light me up and things that I can, create my life and shape my future. And that's going to be really fun, I think, to do. I think it is anyway. I've been working towards this for like 5 years, I want to say. Maybe. I can't tell you about any of it, unfortunately, for another few weeks. So you're just going to have to live in trepidation. I've got a very exciting announcement happening really soon, though, that I'm hoping that you maybe will like. I don't know. See, the thing is that I ask myself sometimes, how can we top 2023? And like, dude, you've not seen nothing yet. Like, really. So, yeah, I'm feeling really positive. Let's meet back with goal setting next week and we'll see where this year can take us all. Happy New Year.